Hello folks, Tom from Brooklyn. It's been a while since I've put out any kind of a post to you, but there's been so much going on and lots of reasons to investigate different areas and things that people just don't want to talk about. You know, the biggest lies are those that are right in front of your face, and when you listen to the people that advise the President of the United States, people like Rahm Emanuel, he basically said it's really a waste to have a good catastrophe pass without using it for some nefarious reason. And thinking along those lines, I'm going to give you folks some things to think about and some things to research. I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to research everything that I tell you, and I want you to draw your own conclusions. But use the points, the talking points, and the research points that I provide for you to see if you come up with a different scenario, which there can be many. Most of the things that I talk about are like the child's toy Legos. You can build in any direction with them, but the foundation is the basis for the attack on the infrastructure of this country. Okay. First off, we'll talk about the oil spill. Somebody in the oil business had asked me, he said, Tom, you're an expert in this area. I said, I'm not an expert in any area. And he said, no. He says, you usually can find something wrong with a story right away. If we have the technology to, cork that pipe and it's not being used, why would they let it go? And I basically told him the catastrophe was not big enough to impact what their agenda was. And he basically asked me, are you worried about the pricing of the oil? And I said, no, there's something else afoot here. And let's talk about it. Over the years, we've seen all kinds of things happening with the secession of the lower states from the United States Union, from the Union of States. And you have Mexico wanting to take over the southern states and claim it back for Mexico. And you have the Chinese that want to build a large highway in through Texas, the Texas corridor, which has been stopped at the border. They have a deep port on the other side of Mexico, a container port, which was the new highway was built to support that container port, and with lots of low-cost trucking, which the United States would have no jurisdiction over, going through the Texas corridor up into Canada or into other parts of our country. Now you're saying, okay, what does all of this have to do with the oil spill? It does have plenty to do with the oil spill. Okay. What I'm about to tell you is not a fairy tale. If you think that this is a fairy tale, perhaps you should call the commandant at Fort Pendleton in California, the Marine base in Fort Pendleton, California, because they're practicing for anti-landing, beach landing invasions in Red Beach at Fort Pendleton. All right. Now, still, I'm not giving you the picture yet, but you will be able to connect the dots very, very quickly. Okay? How many of you folks have actually worked in a print shop? Or how many of you worked with lacquers and paints and have used benzene as paint thinner? Okay? Benzene is a petroleum distillate and a byproduct of oil. Now they're saying benzene fuel and benzene fumes are poisoning people all along the coastline of the southern part of the country. This is all new, okay? Well, I know for a fact, because I'm just a nuts and bolts type guy. I've washed my hands with benzene many times. Transdermally, it didn't poison me. It didn't send me to the emergency room. It didn't make me faint. It didn't make me prone out. My children don't have two heads, so I don't understand what the hysteria is about. So I started to look into it. Now we're hearing in the media and through gradualism where they're salting the waters for benzene, 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 okay? Well, benzene is not a lethal chemical, but, you ready? If people were to come into the emergency room with symptoms of benzene poison, okay, benzene poisoning, all right, which basically happens if you drink it, okay, and people started to die, if the media was to whip this up into a frenzy that people are dying in these areas because of benzene poisoning, that everybody should be moved back 50 miles or 100 miles from the coastline, they would do it on their own. They wouldn't, you know, there would be a stampede to leave, okay? Now, I said, all right, how could we mimic benzene poisoning? Funny that this should just come up, but sarin gas has the same exact symptoms as benzene poisoning, but it's lethal, okay? And it shows the same symptoms. So if our nefarious government or another government working in concert with our government was to release sarin gas along the coastline or along where the oil slick is, okay, people got sick, they would move out of those areas. They would volunteer to move out of those areas because they would feel that it was unsafe. And with the support mechanisms supplied by the media, they would move quickly. Okay? Now, let's look at it from the ocean point of view. Commercial fishermen and people that run barges and everything are told not to stir up the oil slick and not to drive through certain areas. Well, why is this? Well, there's really no reason for you to be out there because you can't be fishing in that yuck, you know? So you really have no reason to go out there and waste fuel and this, that, and the other thing, so stay in port. So you keep your ships in port. What does that do? That keeps people from being out in the Gulf. Why would they want to have people not in the Gulf? Very, very simple. If you were going to bring over a flotilla, say from the Yucatan Peninsula or from, say, Bermuda or something like that, which are both staging areas for the Chinese, okay, to attack the southern half of our country. The idea of attacking this country is absolutely ludicrous. I understand, you know, but meanwhile, while all of our forces are in Afghanistan and Iraq and Korea and Colombia and everybody's away from home, you could take over this country with the Salvation Army, okay? Now, the southern half of the country. While you have the purported poisoning of people and the absence of people being vigilant along the coastline, simultaneously you have a blackout or shunting of satellite photographs and images, okay? Google Earth is only showing you a map of the movement of the oil slick. Google Sky has been shunted, or been turned off. All of the mechanisms that you would be able to get any kind of skylight view down from, say, the Yucatan Peninsula or Bermuda or anything in the Gulf has been shut off. They don't want commercial fishermen out there, no communications in that area. I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I'm just saying that the barn door is open, okay? And it is open by purpose. Remember something. Hillary Clinton brought back eminent domain, okay? Those communist troops that have been put on the Yucatan Peninsula were there to facilitate the building of the highway and to guard the container port that they just put up. Now, one of the provisions of the big bailout loan situation that the United States took from China was that they were able to oversee the collateral assets of the loan. The collateral assets were ready? The collateral assets were the chattel of America. It's you and me. Okay? That's what it basically is. So, folks, guess what? Lucy, you have some explaining to do. America the the landlord has come to get the rent. China's foreclosing on America. It could very well be, and this is one way it could be done. I don't want you to buy into the hype. Don't get hysterical. And it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks. If you start hearing people going to the emergency room, you know they've implemented it. Stay strong, folks, and gear up.